What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 170 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and he is Gaara, and we've got the lovely Cora joining us today for the first time. What's up, Cora?
Hey, I'm excited to finally be here.
Yes. We've been trying to get you on for a while now, so you've been such a busy person casting so many different events, Hearthstone or not even Hearthstone. So I'm glad we finally got a chance to find a free week to have you on here.
Yes, hopefully it will be the first, but not the last. So
First,
I'm excited to talk about a bunch of new stuff today. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, week one after the balance changes, man, and it's pretty wild right now. There's a lot of stuff going on, so yeah, definitely a great week to have you on here. Gaara, how about you, man? How have you been?
I'm doing great. A lot of appointments, doctor appointments, accountant appointments, and whatnot.
Oh,
but besides that,
IRL.
just streaming and leathering every day.
Yeah, much. Nice. End of the month, of course. So it's always a lot of craziness going on here, but we'll definitely be talking about that. Before we get started, I just want to let everybody know that, of course, Value Town is an hsreplay.net show, and so definitely go and check out some stats or the latest meta on hsreplay.net. Also, we are sponsored this week by ShipStation, which is an awesome shipping service. If you are, an owner of any type of store or or a vendor of any sort, we'll definitely talk some more about that a little bit later. But really appreciate those guys sponsoring the show. We'll start off this just like we always do. Talk about what we've done this week in terms of Hearthstone or whatever. Cora, yeah, what have you been up to? Have you just been playing Standard? I know you were playing Arena for a long time. So, did you switch over to Standard recently?
Yeah, so last season I went hard for Arena for like the last week of the season and got on the leaderboard, which was really fun.
Nice.
But then went into tryhard mode a little bit. So I got back from Dreamhack Tours about a week and a half ago, and that was right after the balance changes hit. So since then I've been pretty much doing nothing but playing Hearthstone, streaming a little bit here and there. And I played exclusively Shutterwalk Shaman for about 4 days,
Nice.
and just trying to figure out the intricacies of the deck and figure out which builds I like best, and actually managed to get up to about top 50 legend with it. I think I peaked at like 45, and
That's crazy.
I've fallen since then. I'm playing a bunch of different stuff now and trying to get ready for Dreamhack Austin, but yeah, just been having a lot of fun experimenting with a bunch of new stuff. There's just so much that's viable right now that it's difficult to sort of pin down what the best deck to play is, but it's a lot of fun.
Right here, yeah. What was your win percentage with Shutterwalk?
It's something like 65%.
God,
it was pretty nuts.
That's
I think
crazy.
I was about rank 500, and then I won like 10 in a row.
That's crazy.
To get up to top 100. It was pretty
nice.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, impressive. Because
That's
Shutterwalk.
actually
Go ahead.
insanely impressive.
Yeah.
Very few people can do that.
I mean, the average right now is the average right now is below 50. So I mean, it's just barely below 50. So it's close to being a climbable deck. But the fact that you were way over that is very impressive. Really, really cool.
It's a very difficult deck to play. It's very difficult to play, and I think there's so many different archetypes for it right now. You can play Hemet, you can play Murmuring Elemental, Keleseth. It's just we haven't had enough time to figure out what the best type of Shutterwalk Shaman deck is, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of it at Dreamhack Austin.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see deck lists are sort of starting to come out now because the submission deadline was a couple hours ago. So I'm excited to see what people have really, I guess, theory crafted.
Yeah. Now the latest iterations of Shutterwalk have been making it more and more difficult to beat that deck. Before it was just like, you just aggro it down, no big deal. Now it's like there's a lot of annoying cards that make it a little bit harder to just bully down with aggro. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens there in Dreamhack. Gaara, how about you? Have you been playing Shutterwalk, or are you trying a different set of decks?
Yeah, a lot. That's why it's so impressive. For me, it's probably more impressive than for a lot of other listeners, because I played around top 100 Legend Shutterwalk for like 4 days, and it's a very powerful deck, but it's a very difficult deck. Especially, you need to learn all the different matchups, and you have so many different approaches depending on your list. Like if you play Hagata and whatnot, and you always have to count your hand. You always have to look for all sorts of different win conditions. It's really like one of the harder decks to play right now, if not the hardest, just because of how many options you have, the overload and whatnot. And there's a lot of very difficult matchups like, Druid in general is very difficult. I think all of the Druid archetypes are difficult. So reaching top 15 is not easy with Shutterwalk Shaman. I played a lot. Actually, I played, I think, every archetype That sounds
Nice.
crazy, but yeah,
No,
I
it's
took
cool.
one day off streaming because I dropped 2 dumpsters, I think 3 days ago, and I just couldn't find a deck to climb with. I played even Warlock, I played all different hunter decks, Shaman, everything, and I just couldn't climb. So I went over every archetype till I discovered some nice decks to climb. Today I played Maly Druid, and I had
Good one.
80% win rate in 52 games.
Oh my
And
god.
Jeez.
now I'm top 100, and I will continue playing that for the next 24 hours and see how far I can go. I'm actually,
You
yeah,
gotta
top
hurry
100.
before it swings on you, man.
Jeez. No, it's
Get
very
those
good.
wins, man. Get as many as you can.
It's a very good deck. It's
Yeah.
actually, it's so interesting because there's so many niche decks that are kind of undiscovered right now, which are extremely powerful. Like we mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
it's just that the overall power level is relatively low.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's you see a lot of frustration on Twitter, especially with a lot of pro players because they can't figure out what to play, because you can't just net deck one deck on HS replay how you used to do and then just do well with it. So you have to think and maybe come up with own new decks. So people that are not generally good deck builders, there's a lot of pro players that are not good deck builders but extremely good
Yep.
players, like at mastering a deck. So they have to wait for other people to come up with the deck and copy the deck, and then probably end up playing the deck better than the person who made the deck.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah, so that's the big question right now. Is this a good meta? I mean, or is this environment where there's literally 10 to 15 decks in tier 2, like which is by far the most we've seen maybe ever, like at least a very, very long time. Is this type of environment better than when you see, just a few decks that are dominating? Cora, yeah, what's your take on it? Because it sounds like Gaara, you like it.
I like it too.
Mhm.
I think it's a time in Hearthstone where we have more creativity than a lot of the players are used to, and they're kind of uncomfortable with that. They're kind of uncomfortable with the inability to just look at the meta and say these are the 4 best decks, and this is the lineup that makes the most sense because these are the strongest decks. You can't really do that right now because there's so much subjectivity in the meta right now. I think the tiers are a lot closer together in quality than they normally are. Usually there's a big gap between tier 1 and tier 3. Right now, I wouldn't say that it's quite as obvious as it normally is. I personally like that because it means that players like myself can, mess around with Shutterwalk Shaman, get really good at it, and just, go right to the top because people don't know how to play properly against some of these more obscure decks. But I think that a lot of the pro players are, like I said, kind of uncomfortable with it right now, and that's why they're not really big fans of this kind of meta.
Yeah, and just to really take a look at the point that you made there. Oops, that's not the right website. If you actually look at the tiers, you can see that at least for rank 5 to legend, or you can even just look at legend, either one. You can kind of see like your point there. There's like Malagus at 54% here, and then there's a bunch of things in that 50 to 52.7 range, right? So we've got quite a few decks in these first two tiers. So picking a lineup, say for Dreamhack or whatever, it's not very easy to figure out what those are unless you study the matchups and everything like very, very closely. So yeah, it's like people complain when there's a few decks that are dominating, and then people complain when there are too many decks that. So what does the community actually want if this isn't a good environment?
Sounds like
for
they
them?
just want to complain.
Yeah, exactly, right? No, I personally love this. This is great. Like I think that every class is pretty well represented. I think Mage is the only thing that really doesn't have a crazy strong deck at this moment. And I'm sure some people would even argue against that, right? Maybe Dr. J would argue against that. I don't know. Like he was on a couple weeks ago talking about Mage. But right now, I mean, we talk about recruit. There's like actually a recruit warrior that's so, but definitely has its matchups that it can win pretty well. Hunter was like Hunter and Shaman were the classes that we were just trashing on before the balance changes, and now look, I mean, we got even Shaman, we've got the Shutterwalk Shaman that Cora was talking about, and look at these hunters. We got Spell Hunter, Recruit Hunter, we got Tides Hunter that we're going to talk about in a second with the kind of Death Rattle cube combos that we've seen. So it's wild right now. I don't think we've ever seen this outside of like the first like week of an expansion, but I don't think we've seen this kind of reaction to like a week after a balance change.
I can actually give very good examples of the upcoming tournament meta because I was helping a lot of people prepare for Dreamhack Austin.
Okay, yeah.
To see power level comparison. Right now, the two strongest decks which the tournament meta evolves around is Even Warlock and Token Druid.
Mm-hmm.
And you can compare them to Even Paladin before the nerfs and Q Block. And Even Paladin and Q Block were so much harder to beat than Token Druid and Even Warlock. So we have a significant power decrease. And I can explain also the general frustration because I also experienced it myself now for about a week, is the matchups feel extremely polarized with Token Druid and Even Lock and maybe Murloc, because those are like the three most popular decks on ladder. It's like if you play against Token Druid, you always lose to it with whatever you play if you don't have a removal for the Soul of the Forest combo. And a lot of the classes really don't have a good way or any way to deal with that. So let's say, you play your Quest Warrior, whatever, with Warpath, you will destroy Token Druid. But if you play, let's say, Mage, you have no way to deal with it, and then you just lose pretty much every time.
Yeah.
And the same goes for like you play Priest with Psychic Scream, you can deal with all the tokens, but then you face Miracle Rogue, and you just lose. So you have like a lot of these rock paper scissors scenarios, where which causes a lot of frustration, I would say, to most players.
It's really frustrating to go into a matchup that that you have no chance of winning. And speaking from my experience with Shudderwalk Shaman, you can't beat Token Druid. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
But you also cannot lose to Warrior. It just doesn't happen. Okay. So it's really frustrating to know that I'm playing this deck well and I know this deck can perform, but if you just run into a string of unwinnable matchups, doesn't matter how good you are at the game, it's like the game's working against you in certain ways. Yeah. So I know that, regardless of how much diversity we have in general, I don't think anybody likes it when you have that kind of hopeless feeling in certain matchups. It's like Freeze Mage Control Warrior all over again.
Yeah, the polarization.
I really like, by the way, that you said that you can't beat Token Druid. This is why I stopped playing Shadowwalk Shaman.
You can't beat it.
I lost 7 times in a row to Token Druid. I'm like, I just couldn't figure out what to do.
I think it's like a 20% matchup. It's like you can put in Wild Pyromancer and maybe you have a chance, but it's so
I was thinking the same. It's like the only thing.
Yeah, but it's if Shadowwalk could beat Token Druid, then it would be like another tier even higher. So it's the polarization thing. It's like a double-edged sword because I think the actual gameplay when you have those type of matches is terrible because you already know that you have a very high chance of losing. But at the same time, I actually think that planning lineups and things for events, that those type of dynamics actually makes it really interesting as to like what to bring and like how are you going to navigate that, or how are you going to actually weigh the probability of you running into that and you just accepting that loss and figuring out how to come up with the best lineup that way. So from a competitive standpoint, I actually think it's kind of a cool thing. It's a cool thing, especially when the meta is not very clear right now and there's a lot of like the power level's low and there's a lot of decks that can win in certain just in a lot of scenarios. But like you said, I think when it comes to say just the ladder and just the gameplay, it does suck that way. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what Dreamhack, like what kind of lineups actually end up doing well at Dreamhack, because I think we're going to see a bunch of different strategies going into it. I think Cora, you were telling me some of the lineups that you saw. Like, what were some of the things you saw?
A lot of what Gaara was saying. I'm seeing a lot of Even Warlock, a lot of Token Druid, a fair amount of Rogue as well. But then a good amount of Shudderwalk Shaman. I did see a couple of Warriors as well, which I didn't really know what to expect. Okay, so here for an example, this is Luker's lineup. I don't know if you're familiar with Luker as a player. Shudderwalk Shaman, Cube Warlock, Recruit Warrior, and Spell Hunter.
Okay.
So a couple of things that you would expect. Spell Hunter, I think, is going to be really popular. But Cube Warlock over Even Warlock is maybe a strange decision. And then seeing Recruit Warrior in any fashion, I'm really excited for it, but
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised.
Well, Recruit Warrior does well against Token Druid.
Yes.
That's one of the few classes that does super well against Token Druid.
Yep. It's the combination is weird. Recruit Warrior and Spell Hunter.
Yeah.
In any tournament
agree.
format, you basically have a lineup that is weak to a ban or like good against a deck that you leave open, and the combination of bringing a warrior and hunter the same lineup it's not very.
I mean, the ban wouldn't,
great.
just given that there's so many good druids right now, isn't the ban just druid right now? Because you can't prepare for the different kinds of druids. Like the taunt druid versus a token druid, that's a very big difference.
Except you bring Katarina Hunter and you face Taunt Druid.
Oh.
And you have a good chance.
Oh.
So here's the
really?
thing.
Okay.
At Dreamhack Tours, deck lists were open for the entirety of the tournament. So I'm wondering, I don't have confirmation yet, but I'm wondering if they're going to be doing the same thing, in which case deck lists are open for all of the Swiss, and then ban strategy becomes, I guess, that much easier in certain ways because you know exactly what you're up against.
Yeah. Well, they're typically open, right? Like I thought the deck lists were always open. Okay.
They opened up at top 16 for Dreamhack, but before Tours, they were never open for Swiss.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I think so. If they are open, then yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. I think that, I don't know, man. It sounds like Token Druid's definitely going to be running, just because a Token Druid can get you the free wins. I feel like a lot of people take that strategy.
It can sweep. It has like probably the biggest sweep potential. If you don't have a deck that beats it, like you have to address it. Like you can't ignore Token Druid, no matter what.
Yeah.
You either ban it or you have decks that beat it. It's like it's that powerful, for sure. Okay. And what is interesting for me about Cube Lock is if you compare it to Even Lock, I think it comes down to the mirror. Who actually wins the mirror?
Okay.
Because it's probably the second most powerful deck, and like what we've seen in the past, oftentimes it comes down to the mirror, and I'm super curious about this mirror, like who's favorite actually, because I've seen all sorts of different opinions about it. I would say Even Lock has like a good edge because of the giants.
Yeah,
you get them out
giants
faster.
down on 3 instead of 4.
Yeah,
and that can already win you the game. But then again, you have no faceless. Like you also have weapon removal. It's just interesting.
Because the Even Lock is. I mean, we're definitely going to talk about some decks, just some surprise decks, and Even Lock was one of them. But that's been definitely a revelation, is that deck just really zoom into the top, and the turn 3 giants. I mean, that's just dreams right there. Everybody's been dreaming for a while, wishing that, why can't I just coin and just like put this guy down? Well, now you can, right? With the fact that you can hero power on 1. So yeah, that's definitely been a deck that, outside of the giant play, is that deck effective outside of that? Because I like had a hard time playing that deck, and I still say I don't quite understand all the facets of it right now to win a lot with it. So I kind of was curious what y'all's opinions, and minus the giants, like how strong of a deck is it?
I played against it a lot. I played tested with Strivecore a lot, and it's so cool because this is actually a mid-range deck. It's not a control deck.
Right, exactly.
And
so it's
like, I think Mitsuhito also tweeted late, I think today or yesterday, about this control meta and how oppressive control decks. We absolutely don't have a control meta right now. I would definitely say we have a mid-range meta.
Yeah.
I think control decks in general are pretty bad right now.
Really? Okay.
I couldn't even think of what is the best control deck right now. Is that Shadowwork Shaman, which is not even a control deck? It's like a combo
It's more
deck.
of a combo deck. Yeah, I mean, maybe Quest Priest is pretty thoroughly control, as well as
Taunt Druid.
Like Fury Hunter's Warrior, but you can't even really call Taunt Warrior a control deck.
Yeah, I guess Taunt Druid is
Quest
kind
Priest
of
has dropped off into the last few days.
Yeah.
So much.
It's hard to say what control is these days versus just value decks, because even mid-range decks have great value right now with the mana cheats and recruiting and just all of that stuff right now. So the definition of decks is getting very difficult. But coming back,
very little pure aggro.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what do you call aggro now?
Rogue, I mean, for sure.
Burn Mage, I guess.
Right? Odd Rogue, Baron Mage.
And they
Yes, sir.
still draw every card if possible. Like, with Ultimate. It's
Yeah.
go to fatigue.
Nothing's
yeah.
killing you by turn 5.
Right. Okay, well, why don't we take a look at just some of the meta, just kind of what we've done before, at least last week and this week. So first thing I'm going to do, just take a look at the power rankings, how they've changed in the last week. And that's, of course, the win rates for each class as well as the class popularity. And if just glancing at it, you can still see that there's not, a straight convergence yet from both of these lists. Like eventually when the meta settles down, these lists will pretty much look the same, at least in terms of the rankings. But we still see some differences here. One thing's for sure is the Druids are on top on both of them. So the Druids are winning the most, and they're the most popular, which is not a surprise given that there's like so many good Druid decks. You can't really go wrong, like in terms of what you play there. So that's obviously going to play into popularity too, when there's so many different decks. Anything surprise you here? I mean, we went from the Warlock and Paladin being at the bottom last week, like a knee-jerk reaction, to it kind of rising back up to top 3 here.
I am surprised that Paladin's win rate is so high when its representation is so low.
Yeah, the odd Paladin seems to be doing super well though. It's not that it's not being played a ton, but it's wins a bunch. I think people are still tired of playing Paladin.
They want something different.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. Hunter's stayed solid there at 4,
Yeah.
which is
Thank God.
definitely good.
Rexar deserves it.
Yeah, totally. With the Spell Hunter and the Recruit Hunter, which Gaara played on like day 1. Remember like the big expansion? We were talking about that Recruit Hunter. It's like starting to pick up steam again for whatever reason. Let's see, what else?
Again.
It's not very good when I played it.
It's so overpowered, actually. If you face any slower deck, you destroy them. You absolutely annihilate them.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Tide's version was better.
Katarina is so broken.
Which
It's
one?
so broken. It's not even funny.
Katarina, yeah.
And what is it called? The 1-mana spell.
Oh, the Play Dead.
Oh,
The
Play Dead.
It's so broken.
Play Dead is
if you-
naturalized for no penalty.
It's like a 1-mana
basically.
Umbra. It's
Yeah,
a 1-mana Umbra. It's
Yeah.
so broken.
yeah, it is. Yeah, one
Dude,
mana
you
Umbra.
cube
That's
your
a better
Hyman,
example.
and then you get
yeah.
like a 1-mana double Hyman, and you still have a cube with 2 Hyman. It's broken. You do it on curve.
Well, I didn't
like,
play.
in
I
terms
didn't play Hyman in that deck actually. I was
so broken.
Yeah, yeah, it is
Thank
really
God to
good.
lose Autolus to aggro. Like else, this would be
Yes.
so aggressive.
Yes, you do want to lose dagger, which is why I stopped playing the deck.
Yeah. You can sometimes you can get lucky with some traps and get you through, but yeah, for the most part, there's still no answer. Hunter still has no answer for
Like
aggro
Hunter,
decks.
like that deck, I was beating 3 Hardonoxes, like with a full board of taunts, because you can just kill the minions with your minions.
Dude, the best is
You
when
have
you
so
get
many-
charged minions and you dire frenzy them and then you Katarina
Yeah,
them
it's so
and you're just like,
broken.
oh baby, this
And
is
then you cube,
amazing. Cubing
Katarina,
them
and
and
then-
yeah, it's like it's definitely amazing whenever you can get that kind of run. But that's the thing with Hunter, right? Like I feel like the back end of Hunter, the late game of Hunter is already established and clearly the value's there with with Rexar plus all of these awesome combo abilities at the end. It's just the early game is where the gaping hole is for Hunter, and there's no way around it. It's like I don't know what to do. You can't Doomsayer through it. You can't unleash the hounds because it's too small. It's too weak, and the traps are not the greatest either. So kind of stuck there.
I can see problems already with the next expansion. It must be. It's so hard to buy that. Shaman. It's already so powerful, and look at the class. It's so bad. And the same with Hunter. It's like if you get any good early game, like one good 2-drop, and it will be busted. It will be like Rasicus Priest level for sure.
Yeah, you're roboting on us a little. I'm not sure if it's the server or not, but yeah. So let's see. Popularity wise, like what do you anything surprise you here? Mage still seems to be, quite a bit higher than it's reflected in the win rates. I mean, the win rates are. I mean, it's by far the lowest. I would say it's even out of the range of the other 8. Like the 8 are only, what is that, about 3% top to bottom, like the high range to the low range there. And then you have Mage like 2% below that. So I guess people still aren't convinced that Mage is not good right now.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, you
I mean,
still like
I've
big spell
lost
mage?
to aggro mage enough times on
Okay.
ladder that I'm like, this can't be that bad. And I know a lot of people were trying to make big spell mage work again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What surprises me definitely is priest, because priest was one of the top 3 classes before the nerfs, and it was the most hype around it. And I think it was Orange's best performing deck when he won Titanar as well. So there was like so much hype, and it wasn't nerfed, like it was buffed indirectly, and that it's still like nobody plays it and it's performing so poorly.
I think people were playing it last week, and it was I mean, it's still performing poorly for whatever reason. I think we are seeing a little bit of an uptick with it right now, though. Like just with some combo types of priests. I don't know if
people are not pinpointing what the problem is.
Right,
with priest right
exactly.
now.
They're just trying all kinds of different things. But yeah, priest still has plenty of tools, I think, to figure out something good. They don't have quite as many mana cheat. Or they might not even have any mana cheat right now. Do they? I'm trying to think of any cards right now.
Resurrect.
I mean, Resurrect,
Yeah.
that's value, though. That's not as much as mana cheating.
They still have Shadow Essence.
Yeah, the Shadow Essence is... yeah, Shadow Essence is random. Like, it's a lot of RNG there. Like, or it can be a lot of RNG.
There's a little bit of, like, Radiant Elemental, Prophet Felon...
Yep.
Spell damage, OTK.
Yep, that's what I've seen.
With Shadow Essence, but
yeah,
kind of gimmicky.
Yeah, seems kind of weak there, and it's reflected here at least. And then see anything else here? Warriors. I guess Warrior's not too far. It's definitely the least popular by a lot. Priest and Warrior, I would say, are significantly less popular. Okay, well, Hunter and Druid, man, everybody wants to play those 2 classes, so hopefully that continues. I put together the top 5 decks too, just in the last like 24-hour period earlier today, and Paladin's not on here. Everybody's like, where's the Paladin or whatever, because they're if they look on the site. If you add like another 12 hours or another 24 hours, Paladin actually is in this list. But if you actually just look at the last 24-hour window, this is kind of what it looks like, which is 4 Druids and a Shaman, basically. But Mill Druid's on here. So that's actually number 1. There was like 700 games with it. And yeah, it was crazy. So, that deck is I haven't really played too much of the Mill Druid. I played a lot of the Mill Warlock, but I hadn't gotten a chance to play too much. Have you guys tried it out much? Like Azalina and how is it?
I was playing the deck in the middle mainly, and what is interesting is that people played around the deck on the far left while I was playing the deck in the middle. It's like people conceded randomly because they thought I had Toggle in my hand.
Dude, totally. Yep.
It's actually super high skill cap, because you might think it's always like Azalina Toggle. No. Like you sometimes you just empty your hand very fast and then you play Azalina.
Yep.
And in the mirror, and you have a lot of Druid mirrors, by the way, now, spoilers. If the opponent Druid draws faster, then you never want to Toggle. Then you want to kind of outvalue him through just Azalina. It's really weird. There's a lot of different kind of stuffs you want to do. It's hard to play. It's kind of like Shadowwork Shaman. It's interesting, but I didn't have like this crazy win rate. I was playing the deck and I was like, yeah, it's kind of okay, but not crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, this might be just total streak, a little aberration in it, but it is what showed up in the stats here. Malygous Druid definitely has been doing much better, like in terms of like comparing the 2, but they do look very similar. Like there's a lot of things that would make you think that it was the same deck. But yeah, with the Warlock Mill deck, it was very similar in the fact that like about 20% of the games, if you're playing the deck at the highest range, I believe like 20% of the games are the ones that you win without doing the combo. So learning how to win those games, I think, is super important to having a correct or a good win rate for this deck. So people winning it with 60% obviously understand those conditions, I think, better than the folks that haven't played it much. You think Azalina will ever have value that's not King Togwaggle?
You already play her in the Fury Hunter Control Warrior. Granted, that was sort of as a nod to Rin,
Right.
but it's not a bad inclusion in control decks in general, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a handful of removal that you're maybe draw cards that you don't want to use because you're going to fatigue in a matchup.
Yeah.
I don't think she's bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just one of those cards that's kind of underexplored right now.
Yeah, I agree too. Like I kind of look at her sometimes as like a divine favor with a body, you know, like it's a really cool way to you know, generate the same type of or have the same type of card engine at the end of a game, right? So or it doesn't even have to be an end of a game, like maybe even an aggro deck like runs it for whatever reason. It might be kind of interesting. Let's see, anything else here? Pretty much the other druids, like I said, like it's a druid world right now, and you can't really go
that's
wrong.
That's why the win rate of druid in general is so. I don't necessarily believe that these decks are just the best decks in the game, but it's so hard to mulligan versus druid on ladder. It's like you need a completely different hand against all of these decks.
Yeah,
it's like you counter them in completely different ways. And as you said, like, or as we said earlier, it's like the Malygos Druid and the Togwaggle Druid, they pretty much are almost the same list. It's like you have to play against both at the same time till the very end. You see the weapon come down, and you still don't know what it is. And then suddenly you die to Malygos 36 damage to the face.
Yeah, you kind of play differently too against it, depending on what it is. It's not. I guess it's not too different. It's definitely going to go.
Yes, of course. Like against Togwaggle Druid, you want to draw your deck as fast as possible.
Okay, sure.
Because then they can't switch. Because it's not like Togwaggle Warlock, which just burns your deck, like because they ham it. There's no Hammett in this deck. So if you draw faster, you can't get Togwaggle. But against Malygos Druid, you have to get out of range. HP wise.
Yeah.
So you have to play different.
So do you think because this is a time where there's so many good druid decks, is this because the druid core package is just so good right now, or is this because of various different tools that they have? They just have so many of them that we can spread it out, you know, across 5-6 good decks right now.
I think Wild Growth and Nourish and just the ability to cheat the mana curve is
still
always
the same
going
answers.
to make Druid viable.
And Ultimate Frustration, I want to add that.
Yeah.
Wild Growth, Nourish, Ultimate Frustration, you can play that in any Druid deck.
It's just too damn good. Like think about it. Their removal is not very good. Naturalize is a poor spot removal card, and Swipe is poor AoE. But it doesn't even matter because they're on turn 8 while you're on turn 3, and like, who cares? They just win.
That's true. Well, Taunt doesn't even play Ultimate Infestation, but they do play, you know, Wild Growth and Nourish. And Naturalize we use on ourselves. Like they use on themselves. They don't even use it on the opponent. So unless it's a giant or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I think that you might be onto something right there. It's just those two cards still an issue. And then I guess Oaken Summons too. Oaken Summons is such a great card against aggro right now that everybody's running that. Yeah.
You know what's even crazier? You play Skulking Guys so the Druid can't naturalize his own minion.
Yeah. It's effective though, man. It's effective though.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing like QQing when you're Taunt Druid and somebody plays a Skulking Guys. Okay. Any other elements? Even Shaman hasn't changed too much since last week. I think it, for the most part, looks the same.
I still haven't really seen much of it.
Yeah. I don't play against much of it either. Yeah, it still wins a lot. It's
maybe 1 in 10 shamans I run into, or even shaman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely run into way more Shudderwalk shamans. All right. For a while, you know, like earlier this week, I played a ton of Token Druid. God, the deck is so good. Like on ladder.
I wonder what happened because
it's so
today
good.
people stopped playing it for some reason. Yesterday was only Token Druid today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there was a shift, right? There was definitely a significant shift to try to beat Token Druid, just because, you know, it was just having so much success. But it's one of those decks where you can literally be so far behind, and it just takes 2 turns, and then you win. Like, you can literally turn around a game completely if you get the right two cards at the right time. And not very many decks are like that right now. Like if you're behind, you pretty much get wiped. I guess unless you're like Taunt Druid. I guess if you get Hydronox at the right time, you can come back from nowhere.
That matchup is like it's like 52% for Token Druid. It's very close.
Yeah.
Wait, the mirror.
What, the mirror?
Which matchup?
Token Druid versus Hydronox Druid.
Token Druid is favored. Or not? Who's
Token
favored?
Druid is very slightly favored.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I think
It's
Token
really
Druid
close.
is. Yeah, I mean, look. I think that's right.
I think it's like 52% when I looked this morning. It's close though.
Yeah, it's 52 in favor
Oh,
of
yeah,
Taunt.
yeah. Probably because no spreading plague, for sure.
Yeah.
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 Oh, spreading plague. I never get spreading plague when I play against Token Druid. I never get it. I seriously never get it, and I like mulligan for it. And so it's so frustrating. I've had to double check to see it's. I have to double check that's in my deck. Like, oh man! But when you get it, it feels good. Man.
Token Druid is so frustrating for me. Just look at the list. It has like no threats, and it's so hard to actually counter the deck.
A 1/1 is a threat. Okay, and
it's like this white t-shirt. That's it. It's like you can't beat it with most decks.
I've cleared 5 boards. There's no possible way he has another.
Well, when you can do 30 in addition to what you have on board with double Savage Roar, you're looking pretty good, So
I will never forget the match between Dog and Mazy, where Mazy drew his entire deck, and then there's no possible way. And Dog had every single removal of his deck.
That's right, I remember that.
Like double Warper, not Warper, double Whirlwind, double Brawl, everything. It was so funny.
Yeah. Pretty.
There's no possible way.
that's why the deck's so good.
Seeing more Warrior.
Yeah, I was talking to you about that last night, right? Like, I actually think that Warrior, we might. Well, I guess we can see all the decks now. I was surprised I didn't see a few more Warriors in the, I guess Dreamhack, but yeah, I felt like Warrior would be a good way to counter Token, but I guess if they're not running Token, then they don't need it. If Token's not being run as much, or they're gonna ban Token Druid, they don't even need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, the most interesting thing is what's the best Warrior deck?
I don't know.
It's actually so hard.
I don't know that you want to even run odd Warriors right now because you can't have Warpath. So like generic Taunt Warrior with Warpath is probably pretty good. Recruit Warrior is a little bit more threat dense, maybe a little bit better against Warlock, but I don't know. There's no Warrior deck that does everything right now. Yeah.
There's no Warlock that attacks, Warrior deck that attacks that early right now either. I guess you could build maybe a Rush Warrior that could pressure a little bit in the beginning, but for sure it's built for control. You think double Dead Man's Hand these days or just one? That's been a big question, right?
Maverick won Dreamhack Tours with double Dead Man's Hand Control Warrior.
Yep.
That literally had no win condition other than Dead Man. And none of us saw it coming whatsoever. And I think he went something like 26-2 throughout the tournament with that deck. A ridiculously good performance with that deck.
Crazy.
So I am surprised that we haven't seen more of it. I think that people just don't want to play it on ladder because the games take 45 minutes and it's miserable. But I think that if people were willing to give up that much time, I think the deck would be good.
Can it beat Hydronox Druid? I have no idea.
Yes, depending on what you shuffle, because it plays double Battle Rage as the draw engine now that Cold Lights are gone. And I guess if you shuffle Brawls and you do run a couple of Silences,
it's tough though. It's real tough. Yeah.
I was also so surprised that nobody plays it. Like literally nobody.
Yeah, you gotta balance that card draw with the shuffling of it. Because back in the day we had Cold Light, right, and that was the way to continue drawing just the cards that you end up shuffling. Now it's a little bit tougher. Battle Rage, like you said, Cora. But if you don't run Battle Rage, it's like, man, I have all these cards, I just can't get to them. I can get to the weapons. That's about all I can get to. So it's kind of fun that way. Okay, well, before we move on, why don't we give a little bit of a shout out to our sponsor this week, which is ShipStation. For those of you who never use ShipStation, I'd highly recommend it. If you're selling anything online and you need to get your orders out the door, obviously it can be really tough trying to figure out how to mail everything, and I don't know, some people even do all the shipping themselves. If you're in that situation, you definitely want to use ShipStation because they're the fastest way to kind of manage all your orders and get them shipped out with a lot of the popular carriers around. So, the carriers that they support right now are UPS, FedEx, USPS, and they also support shopping or vendor sites like Shopify, Squarespace, Etsy, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and 75 other popular selling channels. Again, like if you're having issues with that or it's costing you a lot of money, definitely to check out ShipStation. You can go right now and try ShipStation free for 30 days, and you can get an additional month too, only if you use the promo code ValueTown. So go to ShipStation.com, and I think at the top of the homepage there's a microphone that you click on. Click on that, and then you type ValueTown, and then that's all you have to do. And then you'll get that free month. You can try it out and figure out if that's going to be the right thing for you. So ShipStation, make ship happen. Make ship happen is their logos. So thanks ShipStation for sponsoring the show, and hopefully we'll save some people some money or save some businesses money that are listening to ValueTown right now. Okay, next, surprises. So what has been the biggest surprise for you so far in this week one? Anything? We've obviously played a bunch of decks, but anything that was just like, man, this is maybe a discovery or something that you just didn't expect?
I start Murloc Paladin and not
Murloc Paladin. Come on, not Murloc.
Murloc Hunter was working for me.
Murloc what? Hunter? Murloc
No.
Hunter? Are you serious?
Yeah, you play Beast and Murlocs and you curve out and you kill your opponent.
What?
Yeah, you play.
Okay. Steady shot.
I can show you the list. It's pretty good.
All right.
And
I've doubted Gaara many times, and I've come to realize not to doubt him anymore.
Every single time.
Every time I play the deck, it's so good.
Turns out I'm a good deck builder.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
It's
definitely.
like because I play so many different decks, it's like when the deck is bad, I will not mention it, right? So all the bad decks go unnoticed.
Right, filters them out.
There's a lot of them that never get mentioned. And there's like because you have a good curve. That's it, basically. You play mid-range Hunter the way how the class is supposed to be played.
Mm-hmm.
You play Hydras, you play Hymens, and you play kind of the best curve. And like you have the Diamol, you have the Murlocs, the 1-drops, the 2-drops, you have the War Leaders. Yeah. The Totem Golem is the most important card because the Totem Golem counts as a Murloc and you can buff it with Houndmaster. So.
Murloc shot.
But yeah, if you don't hit your curve, you lose. I think the deck needs only one more 2-drop, then it's really good. Because right now you have only 4 good 2-drops. You have the Rockpool Hunter and the Crackling Razor more. And if you want to play a powerful mid-range deck, you want to have at least 6 good 2-drops.
I didn't actually realize that. Yeah, the Amalgam is a Beast and a Murloc at the same time.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It's so good.
I love that card.
You can the Houndmaster it, Murloc Leader it, and then Rockpool Hunter it. You can do everything. Crackling Razor on it. You just do everything, and then you kill command because it's a beast as well.
That's kind of weird. That's kind of fun, actually.
Everything.
That's crazy.
So see that coming.
Yeah. That sounds good. It definitely sounds good. The Amalgam, I've used the Amalgam on and off here, and it's surprisingly good for a vanilla card, basically, right? That has just the versatility of Tribe or just deck building. In Hunter especially, it's always been that 3-drop leading into a 4-drop, whether it's Houndmaster or anything like that. I've always felt that it was a solid card, and then it just gives you that beast qualifier too, which is really good for other cards. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that then. I'm gonna have to give that a.
It's just the general curve is really, really low power level right now.
Yeah.
This is why like a curve hunter works basically.
Yeah.
It's just that it's inconsistent right now because there's like the next best 2-drop is so much worse.
Yeah. Hey, give me a second. Let me come back into this channel real quick. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah.
Then you have to go to the River Crocolisks.
Oh God, no. Definitely don't want to be doing the Crocolisk old style. Give me a second, guys. Trying to hopefully help with this robot-y sound. Okay, I think we're back now. Sorry, we getting a little bit of robot-y kind of sound, so
Uh,
I think it might be the server that we're on. But
Sounds like you're okay now.
okay, yeah, I think it's better now.
No, I was just saying, I think personally I was surprised at how much I've enjoyed the combo play style now since the balance changes. I've never been a combo or an aggro aficionado. I've always really enjoyed mid-range and long style control gameplay. But I really, really enjoy the gameplay of the Shudderwalk Shaman. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Discovered a new Hearthstone side of myself.
It's like a puzzle, trying to solve it. So yeah, it's definitely
and you
fun.
probably enjoy that there's no more ice block in the game.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh gosh.
Going to hit a mage in the face and being like, I can kill him, but what if there's ice block? And then you're like, wait, no, they're just dead every time.
Yep.
So great.
I have that double take all the time, where I have to like,
Dead.
oh no, they're dead. They're actually dead. So this is good.
So great.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen some ice barriers here and there, but that's about all I've seen in terms of different secrets. So the Tides could 3-0 Hunter, I have to say, Gaara, you sent me somewhere recently. I just like seeing Tides playing for first off, like it's just fun seeing Tides playing Hearthstone again. And then the Katharina deck, I was playing with it earlier. It's like really, really fun because it's not the recruit one. It's more of a cube death rattle one, which is crazy, right? Like this is like the second, maybe the third deck that we've seen with cube being significant. The first one being Recruit Hunter, right? I think that was the one that we messed around with. Wait, was it was it that one? I'm trying to remember. What's another cube deck that's been super popular? Is Recruit something? Right? Was it just Druid and Warlock? Yeah, I guess it was just Druid and Warlock. Yeah. So cube the Taunt Druid. Yeah. So this is like the third one that I guess we're seeing now, which is really cool with Play Dead. We knew Play Dead would be good eventually. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but think about it, guys. Play Dead with Cube, and then you got Katharina, and then you've got Dire Frenzy to restock on Beast. It's actually a load of fun. And I was thinking about making that deck of the week this week, but we just did Spell Hunter last week. We got to do something different this week for our patrons.
I crafted King Crush for this deck.
Did you really? Okay.
I spent 1,600 dust on King Crush for this deck. It was worth it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, totally.
Last week alone, I crafted King Crush and King Togwaggle, and I was like, on multiple servers.
On multiple servers. Have you regretted it though? Have you regretted it at all? That's right.
But it's funny though.
Yeah, this might be the first time King Crush is actually worth. I mean, you actually get value from that play because before you'd actually have to use the mana to play King Crush. Never a good play. Definitely never a good play.
My mana 8 damage to your face. It's okay sometimes.
Unless you get it from something else, not actually putting it in your deck. Yeah. Outside of that, surprises. I mean, just the variety of stuff has been, I don't even think I've had time to even try to tweak anything myself. I've just been trying to test out each of these things that are good right now. So nothing else too much. And any cards maybe specifically? Any cards like you've had an aha moment with? Anything like that?
For me, the biggest surprise is how good Maly Druid is because you just lose to a weapon removal. How can a deck perform so well that just gets destroyed by an ooze? It's actually mind blowing.
Nobody's playing them.
Yeah, because none of the best decks are playing weapon removal right now. Yeah. I think the biggest surprise is how difficult the meta is to counter. It's like when nothing is broken, then everything is broken. It's such a favorite I think quote. The biggest surprise is how difficult the meta is. It's like it's at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that too.
I really like the open question we have is like, what is the best meta we can have? It's like, even when I was struggling before today, I was struggling so hard and I didn't feel like it's a bad meta. You just notice it because you don't lose to a lot of stupid non-interactive stuff, right? You don't lose to Queststroke, you don't lose to Rin, you don't lose to just stupid stuff like Operative getting your Jaina. It's like the meta feels fine, but you're still struggling. So
yeah, I don't know, the best meta, it'd probably be something to do with this type of power level, but with I guess decks in each class that can win. All right, like that don't have can win any matchup. Like the worst matchup is like a 47% or something like that. I think that's right, because gameplay would then matter, but then what you pick for your deck doesn't matter very much, and then that's a little bit of give and take there.
I feel like a lot of the Hearthstone players who've been playing throughout the whole history of Hearthstone all look back very fondly on the Patron Warrior, Handlock, Combo Druid, Secret Paladin era as being like the most healthy meta that Hearthstone has had. And if you're even comparing this meta to that one, this one has so many more viable decks than that one did. So I wonder, like, what is actually the sweet spot that we're really shooting for here? Is it one deck per class? So that makes, ladder strategy a little bit easier, makes mulligan strategy a little bit easier. How much diversity is too much diversity, I guess?
Yeah.
Is what we're experiencing for the first time.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like, that's a very good point for having just one good deck per class. Because then
So I think with that we see that it's very important to have a difficult deck to play where you can increase the win rate just by playing good. Like decks like Shadowwork Shaman are pretty good. Not many people can play it because if you misplay, you will have an awful win rate. Very few people can go to top 50 legend like Cora. It's just because you have so many decisions and you need to know all the matchups, and that's, I think, very good to have. This is why I didn't mind Razakus Priest, because when Razakus Priest was the best deck in the game, yes, it feels bad to lose against it, but so few people actually had high win rates with it because you could misplay all the time and just lose with it. It was not just about drawing Raza and Anduin. Yes, that was a stupid mechanic, but it's about having a difficult deck to play, which is the best deck in the game. I think that's always good to have, like Handlock or Patron Warrior or just these combo decks.
I mean,
they can't be OP like Q block before nerfs. If it's too OP that you can misplay and still win, that's not good. It has to be like super low power level, like the average.
Yeah, I agree. So you can outplay your opponent, type of
like
thing.
Shadowwalk Shaman sucks if you don't play it very well. It's like,
yeah, I'm sure. I bet Shudderwalk, if you look at the different skill ranges, probably changes quite a bit. It's hard to tell because you're playing people at the same rank too. So Shudderwalk, you probably don't see it significantly. It would be nice to have a way to really differentiate, how well you're playing with it. At the legend ranks versus like a rank 20 player. But it's tough because their games are, again, like in the range of the same skill as them.
Right before the nerfs, even Paladin was arguably the best deck in the game.
Yeah.
Like together with Q block, and it was all pros. Most pros agreed, because there's always like exceptions. I'm pretty sure that the deck is too easy to play on like a very high level. Like, yes, you could always just be better, play it perfect, but to get like these crazy win rates and play it on like very powerful level, it was too easy, like for how good it was, and that's not good for the game. I think most people agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the even and odd decks themselves play into that curve stone type of thing. It's designed to be that. Like, your hero power's designed to fit into your curve early game and even fill holes like late game. So I always was. I mean, when they came out with the concept of odd and even, I was hoping that would be like the accessible type of archetypes, right? That power level is decent, just not crazy good. But what we've seen so far is that it's been crazy good so far, and I think that that can be bad if they're the only good decks. Right now they're not. Right now, at least with even Shaman, we see other really good decks that aren't necessarily just curve stone, and that's good.
That's a very good question. Like, what is the most difficult odd or even deck to play?
I mean,
honestly, even Warlock is just tapstone.
Yeah, I mean, all of them
hard
are.
Mulligan for Giant, and you get it about 50% of the time.
I mean, Odd Paladin is super easy to play too.
Yeah.
Just hero power until they get out that removal and then start playing your cards. So yeah.
Probably Control Warrior.
Oh, you think the? Oh yeah.
The odd control.
The odd warrior.
Fairy Hunter's Warrior.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. I'm trying to see what the choices are here. Rogue's kind of similar to old Rogue, just normal aggro Rogue. Odd Hunter. No, I think the Warrior's the hardest. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, So it's dangerous, you know. Like I think that type of making that sort of thing good is dangerous, just because I think a lot of people can build some of those, like the Odd Paladin. I think a lot of people can build out Odd Paladin right now. It's not,
very cheap to make.
yeah, it's not out of range. All right, well, anyways, pretty cool meta right now. We'll see what happens in a week's time. I mean, maybe we're just still in a flux, and then like next week we'll actually start seeing things starting to settle, and you know, just a separation between even maybe tier 2, maybe tier 3 will pick up some of these tier 2 decks here, and you know, we'll start seeing things start to change a little bit, because I think it will. Like, I don't think it'll stay like this forever. Like, I'd be really, really shocked if, like, we've never had anything like this stay for like even a month. I don't think we've never had a meta that had this many decks. So, yep, I think we'll have to see what happens there. But speaking of, I guess some events that are coming, we talked about DreamHack obviously coming up, but we had one that actually had this balance patch this past weekend, which was the Titanar event in China, which was an invitational. And congratulations to Orange for winning that. I think it was a 30,000 prize pool, so I forget exactly how much of that he got, but that's a good chunk of change for you know, just this invitational type of tournament. But that's China for you. China has all these amazing prize pools. Did you guys watch any of it? Yeah, exactly, right. Did you guys watch any of it?
I watched a little bit of it. I know Dr. J and Nostum were casting the majority of it. It was kind of a weird time zone for me, so I didn't watch too much. But I did hear a bunch of the guys talking about RDO and Orange specifically, about what they were planning on doing going into the tournament, because they didn't actually have time to, oh god, my cat, to test the balance changes. They just had to sort of submit the decks blind. Yeah. Oh, he loves attention and makes it very well known if you're not giving it to him.
It's all good. Yeah. So apparently it worked. For sure, at least for Orange, it worked really well. You can kind of see the breakdown here. I'll show you the breakdown that Hearthstone had here. You can see at least what deck archetypes were brought. A lot of people brought Control Priest, of all things, which we haven't really seen very much of in the ladder meta.
Do we have some Old Guardian breakdown?
No, we didn't. At least it was not in time to get prepped for today. So I think maybe Old Guardian's on vacation this week, at least for this one. He worked so hard.
It would be nice to see the win rate of Priest.
Yeah, definitely would be. But Priest, I don't. You foresee seeing a bunch of Priests this weekend? I don't think we're going to be seeing too much. Actually, where's Orange?
I asked a couple of my friends, Dr. J, Racy, Sidonia, what they thought of Control Priest, and they still think it's quite good, but the lineups that I've seen haven't had it. And my brother's competing in the tournament. We were messing around with the idea of him playing the Mind Blast Priest, and he was playing around with it on ladder, and he's just like, I don't know. I don't feel like it's good enough against any single deck right now that it's worth bringing. There's other more polarizing decks that maybe fit better into the ban strategy.
I mean, this is an anti-token Druid deck, right? Like, I feel like this was made to do well against it, like Pyros and Mass Dispels, and you know, like obviously the Psychic Screams, and I feel like this is like a control deck that does well against that. But if you're just not going to play against it, then this is, you know, might struggle against all the other value-based control decks or even mid-range decks. This would be tough. What's your thoughts, Gaara, like in terms of what this is good against?
Okay, for me, for my lineup in HCT, in the Dreamhack Tours that I played in, Priest was my worst performing deck. But also, like in all the playoffs, Priest was like together with Tempo Mage, one of the worst performing classes.
Right. And
I think this trend continues. It's just, okay, if you look at Big Spell Mage is very similar, I think, to Priest right now. It got insanely buffed indirectly by the nerfs, but at the same time, the new archetype that emerged are very good versus Big Spell Mage. So even though Big Spell Mage is more powerful, like in like on paper or whatever in a nutshell, it's still weak against the meta. And the same is with Priest, I feel like. Especially against all the Druid archetypes. It's super bad versus Maly Druid or like Taunt Druid.
Yeah.
Every Druid control archetype has so much armor gain that just out armors all the damage that the priest is available.
Yeah.
And another problem is you can't win fatigue. If you go Psychic Scream against Token Druid, you lose fatigue. From when I talk to people when they play tested it,
Really?
they just play the deck then different. Yeah, because you get 8 additional cards in the deck, then you just go because you still play Malfurion. And they still have a lot of armor gain. It's actually quite easy to out armor the priest deck, and you can just remove everything they play. So it's not that great of a matchup. And there's also like all these random archetypes, like what Thijs was playing the OTK, the dinosaur OTK. Dude,
dinosaur OTK? That sounds pretty cool. What is this?
Cube Devil Sword Druid.
Oh yeah. The recruit.
You can't go Psychic Scream against it because they just redraw it and play till you're dead.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like Warrior, all these control warriors, and it's actually pretty bad against Even Lock because the giant comes down even faster, and Twilight Drakes are also naturally pretty good against you. And it's just fast. It's like a mid-range deck. You don't survive till Psychic Scream. The deck tries to kill you very fast. And also, Hunt-type was also always pretty good against Priest. The aggro decks, like Rogue, Miracle Rogue especially, is hard countering you. Miracle Rogue has a huge rise in popularity. I just think it's a bad meta for Priest, even though the class is not bad. It's just a very bad meta for the class.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't. It's hard to find a really good matchup for it.
It doesn't have good matchups, really good matchups.
And there's just not much value. Like the Shadow Visions and the Curious Glimmerroot are the only real value plays. So
I think you have to play Priest different in a value way, not longer Mind Blast. It's not the right meta for Mind Blast.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of thinking maybe we'd see some Quest Priest, just because it is the ultimate fatigue your opponent value deck with Archbishop Benedictus.
Right.
But then you can't beat Shudderwalk Shaman, so that has to get your ban. But then you can struggle against Cube Warlock and just decks that are very aggressive that you don't have the ability to combat. So Priest, I think, just has a few too many weaknesses right now. I don't think Mind Blast Priest or Quest Priest are bad decks in a vacuum, but I just don't know that they really have a place in these lineups, especially in a last hero standing format where you want decks that can win 4 times or 3 times in a row, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need powerful decks, and these decks are just a little bit too meh.
There's just not very many good combos with Priest.
Question.
Value combos.
Who wins, Benedictus Priest or Deadman's Hand Warrior?
Oh, I think.
You go to turn timer and nobody, unless the rule is still player with more life at the 90th turn or whatever it is, in which case
wouldn't the Priest win? Is that including armor too?
It is including.
Oh, okay. That was just life. Okay.
Yeah, I actually had my first ever draw as a result of the turn timer in a Quest Priest mirror, and I was gonna win. My opponent was finally in fatigue because he played Benedictus, but then I Benedictus like the 40 cards in his deck into mine, and took it like 40 turns, and then we both lost.
Sounds like so much fun.
It's heartbreaking.
Can you imagine in the event?
I, for one, am not.
In the event, people are just literally roping on purpose. Like that's
literally the worst matchup in the history of Hearthstone. The Quest Priest mirror.
Swede is freaking out. He's like, if people are actually bringing Quest Priest, our Swiss rounds are going to take 4 hours. We don't have a ruling on this. What are we going to do? Yeah.
I'm not sure what you can. What can you do? Like, what do you do? Like,
I don't know.
Set a timer on each round.
What casters? Imagine casting that game.
There's not enough pressure in the deck to kill your opponent. Okay. You can't do it.
As a tournament, what do you guys think? As players, just setting a time limit to each round. Like you have to finish by this time. Is that something people would game or no? But what do you think about a rule like that?
That is the ruling in Pokemon. In Pokemon TCG, rounds are 50 minutes because they cram 9 rounds of Swiss into a single day. But they also have draws and ties So I think you would need to implement a draw system in Hearthstone somehow, and then that would, change the tiebreakers. And maybe you would just need like to convert wins, losses, and ties into a certain amount of points, and then have players hit that certain amount of points threshold to make it to like day 2 or top cut. I don't know.
That's kind of tough too, because you can see people trying to, like when they know they're gonna lose, they're literally just roping just to try to get a draw out of it, and that feels bad.
There's a lot of rules against slow play in Pokemon TCG, but they're all abused.
Mm-hmm. What if both players got losses if they don't finish in time?
I don't know about that.
You'd probably get people just trolling, like folks that know that they've lost, just trolling the other guy.
That like specifically bullies a control meta, and like encourages control decks to not be played. That's I don't think you ever really want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We need 6 prices like in Pokemon.
Yeah.
6 what?
6 of my minions.
Oh, right. 6 decks. Oh my god.
I mean,
but crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. They also just only bring a single deck to that format. It's one deck, and they play best of 3s instead of best of 5s. So
yeah.
It could be done. It would require just a completely different Hearthstone format. I personally think it would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've had any
Dude, I want to see Speed Hearthstone one day. Like I want to do that one day. Yeah.
I want them to stop printing infinite value cards like Benedictus that been sent.
Well, yeah. I don't mind like the concept of it. I just don't like the fact that it can be looped into infinite, and then we have to set this artificial limit to games. So design wise, I agree, but I do. I don't mind that you add all these cards, but maybe it's not the entire deck. Maybe it's just like 10 cards or something like that, and then it would be a little bit better. But the fact that we have Dead Man's Hand and we have Benedictus, I mean, it's just like, seriously, guys? I mean,
that's where strike format comes in handy. You don't want to play an hour-long Quest Priest Mirror because you're playing 6 rounds today? Ban it.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't do that to yourself.
That's true. But anyways, yeah, Titanar again. Congrats to Orange for winning it, and it's definitely a cool event. I think that was that a second Titanar event? Maybe I can't remember how many they've done now, but
there have been others. I don't know how many.
I know people have had a good time at least this particular event. A lot of people had a good time at it. So at least compared to tours, I think a lot of people weren't super happy about tours. Cora, like, how long did it take for you to get home? It took you
22 hours or something ridiculous.
And Gaara, how long did it take you to get home?
22 hours, but my flight was only 1 hour.
That's crazy. He lives like 50x closer than you live to the actual site, and he took the same amount of time to get home. That's crazy.
Tours was painful for players and production and talent and everybody. Absolutely everybody.
That's not good. That's not a good sign. What not to do?
It was fun though.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it was the first entirely open deck list format for Dreamhack, and the casters never had deck lists because there was no Wi-Fi.
Oh, really?
We never once knew what the deck lists were. They didn't print them out for us, and there was no Wi-Fi, so we had no clue.
No.
That's so bad.
Normally you'd have it, right? Like in your, I mean, Wi-Fi for, you mean the laptops, or you mean for your like?
Nobody had Wi-Fi.
Oh, I know, but
you only had your own data.
God, you think there would be LAN connections or something there?
There were so many disconnects at the Swiss.
Really?
Crazy.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of people on their phone with like their regular data.
That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, I would definitely make sure I had my data plan running over there too. Oh, it looks like Fuckroni too said the same thing. Oh man. Okay, well, just I guess things not to do at a tournament. Maybe they learn.
Cora got me hyped about Strike format. That was such a good format.
What was it?
Strike was so good. I think the last time we had that in Hearthstone was with Amas. I think.
What was it? Wait, what's Strike Cora? I forget. What is that again?
It's where you bring your decks and you line them up in all of the possible matchups that could occur, and instead of banning a deck, you ban mashup.
Yeah.
So if you had a Quest Priest and your opponent had a Quest Priest and you didn't want to play the Quest Priest mirror, you could ban that away. And then you determined the 3 matchups that you end up playing in the best of 5, and then just play out those 3 matchups.
Yeah, but so you determine the 5 matchups, like you just randomly lie your decks down? Like each of you guys lie your 5 decks down, and then however they end up matching up, like when you uncover them?
Well, so say like I have, Warrior Druid Priest, and my opponent has Warrior Druid Priest. You can have a Priest Warrior matchup. You can have Priest Druid.
Oh, the combinations, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all of the combinations, and then you take turns banning combinations. Until you have the remaining matchups.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
There's like a lazy way to do it, where you, let's say, have 2 strikes, and then when you queue a matchup, and then you say, I use my strike now. Like, because you don't want to play the matchup.
Yeah.
I guess to save time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Cool format.
Yeah, definitely a cool format.
Cool. Yeah, we always have Conquest and LHS as like that.
Yeah, there's always room for more, so hopefully they'll keep experimenting with more. Okay, well, we got some Q&A coming up. Before we do, I just want to give some love to our supporters, our patrons, of course, on our Patreon that we have at patreon.com/valuetown. If you guys want to help us continue doing this show each and every week, go there and make a pledge, because that's how we are able to pay for things, expenses and things that we have for the show. So check that out, patreon.com/valuetown. We do things like Deck of the Week with our patrons, where we pick a deck, and then I have like a 30-minute mini show that I do on Mondays with our patrons, and we just talk about the Deck of the Week. Everybody can do it. Everybody can submit their results by emailing valuetown@hearthstone.net, and we'll kind of take in all the results and talk about them. But the guests on the show are the actual patrons, so we just want to do something special. But also, we want to give a shout out to them on the show each and every week. So Mike T, our legendary producer, as always, Dave C, Devin Y, Engine S, Grant A, Louise L, Vince F, Alex F, Bruce W, Eric L, another Eric L, and Cody K, Sasha G, and Jake C, just to name a few. Thanks so much, guys. You guys are the best. And, hopefully you guys continue supporting it, because, it means a lot to us. Okay, Q&A here. We've got Ahmed N, who is our regular, that always asks us a question each and every week. Thank goodness for him, because he always has something to ask us. Being a top deck in a meta requires it to be broken. What was the weakest best deck in Hearthstone ever? Ooh, that's a good question. The weakest best deck. Wow. Dang, that's a good question.
I don't actually know. You think it was Patron?
I think the letter win rate was always super bad from Patron Warrior.
That wasn't weakest though.
But
that's
the
not...
win rate for the pros that were really really good. It was.
I would think it'd be like a control warrior of some sort.
It was never the best, I think.
Yeah, at some point in Hearthstone, it was the best.
I think Secret Paladin, for all intents and purposes, is actually quite mediocre in power level. And if you put it in a meta today, it wouldn't. I don't think it would do much.
Yeah.
And then just like a standard mid-range hunter, back when it was literally just
Sunshine Hunter,
Hyena on 2, Master on 4, High Main on 6, and that was the whole deck.
But we had Buzzard and Unleash still, and Hunter's Mark was there.
No, I mean, well, even after the Buzzard,
I forgot about Hunter's Mark range.
Yeah, life coaches. Oh. It wasn't that strong though, comparatively speaking. Like it didn't have a crazy burst at the end. It was just like straight curve you out.
You had unnerfed Leroy, which you also played with unnerfed Unleash the Hounds. There was so much damage with unnerfed Hunter's Mark.
Oh, okay, all right.
And it was the old bow as well, which worked for your secrets. Pretty much all the Hunter cards were unnerfed.
Was that the old bow too? Oh my gosh.
Yes, they changed that when Secret Paladin came out. They changed that for League when Mysterious Challenger came out, because there would have been bows with like 8 charges.
Yeah.
And it would have been ridiculous.
Yeah. What about Miracle Rogue?
Miracle Rogue was insane. Unnerfed Leroy, unnerfed Gadgetson.
Dude, I'm trying to think of anything. I'm trying to think of anything.
Just like... That deck was insane.
Okay, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Think about Force of Nature Savage Roar as a combo, being 14 damage or maximum if you had Force Double Roar with Unnerfed Innervate. Unnerfed Innervate was really, really strong, but having a 2-card 14 damage combo, I don't think today would be nearly as scary.
But it was the
Yeah,
curve
but it
before
was
it was
crazy.
everything about the
They
deck.
played Yetis on. Well, they played Yetis on 1.
Yeah, but I think we're talking
I guess.
relative though, right? Like, well, maybe we're
Yeah.
not talking yeah, we're still talking relative. Like, what was the thing that was just not like?
I like Secret
disgusting?
Paladin.
Yeah,
I like
Secret
the
Paladin.
choice.
Yeah.
Secret Paladin's probably the closest thing. I'm trying to think through any of the other classes.
Even in the meta that Secret Paladin was most powerful in, it still wasn't. It was maybe 3rd or 4th best deck, I would think.
Yeah,
It's just that when you got the nuts curve, it was stupid.
maybe Warlock, like one of Handlock's like iterations.
The pre-Antique Healbot handlock.
Yeah, something like
I would
that. It
think.
was good. It's always been good. So, like Twilight Drakes and Ancient Watchers and stuff like that back in those days.
I think Mind Blast Priest is also pretty shitty, but it wasn't the best deck in the game. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's so sad. Like compared to Razakus Priest, it's come on, bro.
Significantly
Was it
worse.
really the best deck though? I don't know.
It was the best Priest deck. But
No, we're talking
it
about
was-
best deck, like in Hearthstone.
Ew.
Yeah, it was one of the best decks. I mean, look at Titanar. Everyone brought Priest.
It was
Most
top
big
5.
class.
Oh my goodness.
sure.
Okay, all
And
right.
it's very sad.
Any of the decks right now, basically.
Yeah.
Any of whatever's
Yeah,
whatever's on top,
Shadowmark
like for
Shaman
the
right
day.
now.
Yeah.
No!
Shadowlock.
It's so frustrating. I hate that deck, but I love it. But I lose 66% odds a staggering amount of the time.
Wait, are we missing a Yoxer deck? Is the Yoxer deck ever the strongest?
Yogg
Yeah.
was in
It was during
Everything.
Temple Mage.
3 years. 3 years ago, right?
Yogg Druid, Yogg Mage.
2 years ago.
I have to look at my stick. I'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, we
Maybe
need, we
maybe
need,
like Mech Mage. Like Mech Mage was really good for a very long
Mech Mage told you.
the strongest
Mech Mage?
deck?
Mech Mage?
Dreamhack
Yeah,
Valencia
Mech Mage.
2016.
Mech Mage is so good, though. I mean,
mean,
that was crazy,
was-
good, actually.
York
That was-
Druid and Temple Mage.
Yeah. Dude, this is Ixar's next bracket thing. Like, what's the worst best deck ever? Yeah, exactly. It's cool to think. It'd be nice if there was something. I don't know if there's any site that actually keeps historical data, like on just these kind of decks. Like maybe Hearthstone. I'm not sure if anybody's collecting this stuff, but it's always cool to look back on.
The longer Hearthstone is out, like the more that I start to forget all of the decks that have existed.
I
Like,
know.
I've played since open beta, so I've played them all. But it's been so long since Hunter's Mark was nerfed, for instance. I just
Yeah.
forgot that Hunter's Mark was ever
It changed.
0 dang mana.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's absurd. Like Soulfire was 0 mana.
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago, but the Soulfire one. They should do a
kinda
Tavern
guess
Ball
next
that was
is
like
pretty
that's
bad.
beta. They should do a Tavern Ball next that's beta Hearthstone. And just like use all those cards again.
8 mana Pyroblast, Freeze Mage.
Dude, remember 3/3 sun clerics or whatever? And
Yeah,
Dark
and
Iron
Defender of Armies
Doors.
used to be-
Yeah, Dark Iron Doors used to be +4/+2 permanently, I think it was.
Sun Fury used to give taunt to everything.
Yeah. Oh my god.
War
that
Song
was
used to
crazy.
give charge to
Yeah, or anything that was under. I think it was under a certain attack, right? Like
Yeah,
under
it-
2 or 3 or whatever it was.
because
yeah.
it would give charge to it was like the War Song Molten Giant
Yeah.
OTK.
Nothing's worse
It
than
would
the
give charge to
nothing's
Giant.
worse than the old Unleash though. That old Unleash combo is the thing that I have used the most. The one where you get +1 attack and everything, all your beasts get charge.
Bestial Wratham plus charge.
It was like 1 mana too, I think it was 1 mana. It was just stupid, disgusting. Okay, well, anyways, good question, Ahmed. Cody CCG. So I guess there's 2 questions about Hunter here. I've been playing some Recruit Hunter since last week with some good results. Do you guys think it is a solid option or just a Fiesta period? For me, this expansion, I think it's Fiesta period, but I think it has potential for more support.
I think the second that, so here's where I see the meta going. If Token Druid is going to be as dominant as I think it is for the near future, then I think the Warriors will rise up in response because Warpath and Whirlwind effects are so powerful against Token Druid. And then I think the Hunter can really capitalize on the Warriors because Dire Frenzy onto high mains and onto just the big beast is very powerful against those Control Warrior builds. So I do think in the near future we could see this deck being really good.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Easy answer
That's
to that
easy.
one. Yeah, easy answer.
Perfect.
Okay, Conway6288 on Twitter asks, why has Cube Hunter seen a rise in popularity recently? I can't see any advantages that it has over Cube Warlock. Both use chargers and big taunts, but Warlock has Gul'dan and Rin, both completely insane cards. Hunter just feels too fair, including Spellstone. Spellstone is fair? What? Like, since when? Like,
Tell him to craft Rexar.
Yeah. Rexar's not.
Played that card?
I know Rexar's disgusting right now.
Rexar's not fair, dude.
Like ridiculously good.
I mean,
I think comparing the both is like it's like apples and oranges. They're completely different.
If you look at like, so you have Cube, Doom Guards, and Dark Pact in Warlock. In Hunter, you have Cube, Devil Swords, or King Crush, and Play Dead. And Play Dead gets you 4 total, whereas, or 5 total, I guess, once the Cube Death Rattles. Whereas Dark Pact and Cube and Warlock only gets you 3 total. So technically,
that math, man.
Hunter just has more damage potential.
Yeah.
And you've got Arena and it's cheaper.
Yeah, and you've got
and it's
Stitch.
more powerful what you actually do.
It's more resilient against removal.
Yeah. So you're saying Hunter's better than Warlock? Or is that what you're...
Hunter has the best effective stuff in the game. It's just that everything else Hunter sucks at. Like Hunter has no board kick, Hunter has no card draw.
Yeah.
Hunter is like a lot of it is no health gain without Rexar. It's like Hunter sucks in everything else. It's just they do the most broken practice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Warlock has a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Warlock has the lead up that Hunter doesn't have.
Yeah, that's true.
And like life tap.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it's popular because of how explosive and again how incredible value it has at the end. Just kind of answering Conway. That's why it's so good. They're just different. They kind of get there in different ways, and both are great. I mean, both are end games are extremely powerful. So that's the main reason. All right, let me just double check to see if there's any other questions here on Twitter. But if not, I think we can call it. Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for the questions. Thanks everybody for writing in. And if you do have any questions for next week, go ahead and email those to valuetown@hearthsim.net, and we'll be sure to read them out. This is for all the folks that listen to the podcast or actually watch the VOD. It's always a chance for everybody to get their questions in each week instead of just all the live folks. But yeah, I think that's about all we got today, guys. We're gonna wrap up. It's definitely covered a lot of good stuff. Cora's great having you on finally, and it's great having your insight too. Yeah, just keep crushing with the Shutterwalk, Shaman. It's amazing.
1-2 punch. And I've actually been playing Cube Block today, so
Cube Block. Okay.
I'm flying to Austin tomorrow, so I would have liked to have gotten a top 500 finish if I could, but I'm like 1500 right now, so I don't know if I'll have the time. We'll see. Yeah, Austin will be fun though. How many times have you been to Austin? Just the one. Really? Dreamhack Austin last year was my first Dreamhack event. Okay. So, yeah, I'm excited to go back. It's just a really cool city, but it's going to be like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to that. Yeah, it's summers, but you'll be inside most of the time. Make sure you get some barbecue when you're out there, because I lived in Austin for a long time. I went to school in Austin and lived there for a long time. Kidding. So like I was hoping to go this year, but then there was a chance that we were going to do Streamer Showdown just in the lifestyle area, but didn't come together quick enough. So might have to be like Atlanta or something like that. But I was like, oh, I want to go to Austin. It gives me an excuse to go to Austin and see everybody. I stand by my statement. If you ever want somebody to take down to Sky Toast,
Yep. Okay. All right.
My trivia skills they're primed and ready to go.
Cora throwing down the. If you would have just been around, you would have totally been on the other day. Unfortunately, you're on a plane. I know. Unfortunately, you're on a plane, so toast wiped up again. All right. Well,
Eventually.
we'll definitely take that in consideration and figure out a time because he needs some worthy opponents. Worthy of humility. Wow. Okay. Okay.
No, I love Toast. Don't think that for a second. No, I genuinely adore Disguised Toast, but
yeah.
I also love trivia.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Gaara, have it. You want to do any shout outs or anything?
Shout outs to all the people going to Dreamhack Austin. I'm jealous. I want to go too. I was once and it was amazing. Yeah, shout outs to my Twitter, to my stream, twitch.tv/GaaraByShaman. I stream every single day. And yeah, it was fun. Super happy that Cora was on the show. It was super awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully
gotta do it
we
again.
will see her again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
it's your final push too, right, Gaara? Like the last day.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I won't sleep.
Yeah, I won't sleep. That's right.
No sleep for me.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear actually what you end up noticing in terms of the trend in the last day or so, because I think this might be the most interesting final day that we've seen. Like, it won't be, obviously be still stressful for everybody, but I feel like it's not going to be just like, oh god, I either play this deck or this deck and I'm getting sniped or I'm getting counter queued and with anything like that. I feel like that might not be quite the same this time around. But yeah, good luck to you though. Hopefully you get some good finishes on all 3 servers and you get a good one there. But I kind of round things out. Thank the 2 of you guys for doing the show. Everybody for watching. You can find us on audio channels too, like iTunes and Google Play and SoundCloud.com/ChanManV. If you want to listen on the way to work or when you're working out or anything like that, leave us a review if you enjoy the show too. Helps out in people finding the Value Town whenever they're searching for Hearthstone podcasts. And once again, thank you to ShipStation for sponsoring the show. HSReplay.net, of course, for just being the supporter of the show at this point. And yeah, I think that's going to be it, guys, for Value Town this week. So for Cora, Gaara, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.